Hey folks, how are you doing? It's Richard here from Bikepacking Adventures. Firstly, I'd like to start by wishing you all a Happy New Year and thank you all for liking and subscribing to the channel. In this video, I'll be sharing with you my plans for riding in 2025 and hopefully inspire some of you to explore the great offline. Before we kick off, do head down to the comments section below and feel free to share your plans for 2025. I always enjoy reading them and I'm sure other people do too. I've been taking part in audaxes, or randonnées as they are more traditionally called, since 2018 when I first turned up at the small village of Carton-le Moorland in Lincolnshire, along with 25 other riders to ride the Bomber County at what would be my first 200km event. In that same year, I completed my first Super Randonnée series, riding 200, 300, 400 and 600km calendar events, all starting in my home county of Lincolnshire. Every year, excluding 2020, I've ridden audaxes up and down the country and each year completed the SR series of distance events. Not much has changed since then and now when it comes to entering audaxes, except there are no longer any events that start and finish in my home county, which is a massive shame as Lincolnshire is such a big and diverse county to ride a bike in. That's not to say there aren't any calendar events that cross the county. The Wicked 200, Yorkshire to Essex, Aero Curtains all spring to mind, as does of course London, Edinburgh, London, which takes place this summer. However, do keep an eye out on the Audax website over the coming weeks, as some Lincolnshire held events will hopefully be on the calendar later this year. Anyway, with the introduction over, where will I be riding in 2025? Well, so far in my Super Randonnée series, I'll be attending the following audaxes, starting with the second class return to Scarborough in the middle of March. A 300km distance around north eastern England, starting in Darlington, heading over and through the North Yorkshire moors to Scarborough and back around via the East Riding and Vale of York. A week later I'll be heading down south to Warwick to ride a 200km distance, the Cotswold Goat. I don't have a detailed route just yet, but looks like the route heads to some place called Charbury, continuing south to Finstock just over the River Evenlode. From there the route turns northwest, riding over the beautiful Cotswold countryside, eventually reaching Droitwich Spa in Worcestershire and then heading back to Warwick. Fast forward to the end of May, always the busiest month of the year, is the 600 distance, the 9 counties audax starting from Alfreton in Derbyshire. I did initially sign up for the 9 counties ride in 2023, or it may have been 2022, whichever year it was. I had already ridden a 600 over in Wales that year, so decided to skip the event. As the name suggests, the 9 counties audax passes through 9 counties in northern England and the Midlands. I won't list them all, but suffice to say it's a long weekend on 2 wheels. Thankfully, the ride doesn't have a great deal of climbing in audax terms. A mere give or take 3,700 metres of going up, which in the world of audax is fairly typical. A side tip, if you're planning to ride your first 600km distance in 2025, go check out the Yorkshire to Essex event, as it's by far the flattest of them all, flat, albeit windy. Moving on into June and the summer solstice weekend. This year I'll be riding my 400 in Yorkshire. This one starts in York. It begins by sending riders north straight away through the picture postcard landscape of the Yorkshire Dales, continuing through Cumbria towards Brampton before returning south again through the remote landscape of the North Pennines, passing through Barnard Castle, around Richmond and Catterick, on through Northallerton and back home to York. So that's my 2025 Super Randonnée series in a nutshell. No doubt I will plan other audax events this year, but those are my 4 main target events in 2025. Just like in recent years, I'll be bikepacking through much of the year. Here are some of the bikepacking adventures in 2025 I'm looking forward to the most. In the first half of Easter, I'll be riding with my good friend Tony. The gravel bikes will be out. The plan is to start in Bolsover, Derbyshire, heading through many woodlands that are scattered throughout Nottinghamshire as we travel south together. We'll soon leave the woodlands behind, heading even further south, eventually reaching the tiny county of Rutland. In day 2, we'll turn back around, heading north and west passing through Leicestershire, the city of Nottingham, and arriving back in Derbyshire. From there it's up into the Peak District, riding some easy trails, the Cromford Canal, High Peak Trail and the Monsell Trail in the heart of the Peak District. After a good night's sleep, either wild camping or at an official campsite, we'll end the weekend with a short ride back to Bolsover. In the early May bank holiday weekend, it's a journey into Shropshire for me, to ride a brand new Cycling UK route, the Marcher Castles Way. I'll be hooking up with a couple of audax friends I've met over the years, Brandon and AD from Crew Clarion Wheelers. The Marcher Castles Way is a distance just shy of 300 kilometres around the county of Shropshire, spending much of the time in the Shropshire Hills. A good 2/3 of the route will take place off-road, where we'll pass through many historic places, towns and villages with lots to look at along the way. The Marcher Castles Way will bring us into Wales, following the Offa's Dyke for a short while. We'll pass through some beautiful English and Welsh villages, including Shrewsbury, where the ride begins, over Ironbridge, reaching Clun, visiting Newtown, Montgomery, Prestane and Nineton. These are all places I know very little about, but will look forward to experiencing over the bank holiday weekend. As I've said before in previous videos, it's unlikely I'll be able to ride the Tour Divide anytime soon, so instead of heading over to North America, I'll be instead taking a short journey over to the Peak District for the Tour Divide. That's TOR Divide. I've signed up to the Peak Gravel Distance, a roller coaster of an off-road ride in one of my favourite national parks here in England. The route has yet to be confirmed in full, but no doubt they'll be sending us up many hills and rocky peaks in the national park. This will surely be a cracking weekend of riding. Right now I'm in two minds of how I'm going to tackle the Tour Divide. Do I go and race it as training for later in the year, or do I go and enjoy it as a bikepacking adventure? With so many plans this coming May, I could easily take the race approach at the Tour Divide, because less than a week later, over the late bank holiday weekend, I plan to return to the King Alfred's Way, which I planned this year to give myself more time to finish. For those of you who have been living under a rock or simply new to bikepacking, the King Alfred's Way, in my eyes, is right up there as one of the best bikepacking routes in England. It's squarely aimed at those of us seeking more of an adventure as opposed to an all-out challenge. That's not to say the King Alfred's Way is easy, it isn't, but you don't have to worry about carrying your bike up a mountain precariously close to a cliff edge or thundering down a steep gravel incline. If you want to find out more about the King Alfred's Way, watch this video down below or in the corner of the screen. In July, I'll be heading to the North Yorkshire Moors to take on the 300. This year, I won't be riding alone, joining other mountain bikers to take on the rough, rugged, beautiful, sometimes technical but always spectacular North Yorkshire Moors National Park. Once again, this will be a challenging route, but in 2025 I'll be seeking to finish the route at pace. My biggest event in 2025 will be the self-supported gravel bikepacking race Badlands. Describing itself as the wildest gravel challenge in Europe, the race, the adventure, whatever you'd like to call it, is a 400-mile plus gravel epic starting in southern Spain. The route will take me through the Sierra Nevada, Garrafi and Tabanaras deserts, sending me through remote barren landscapes, tricky hiker bike sections that will test my patience and resolve. The race mainly takes place on gravel, beaches and single track, with rocky climbs and descents thrown in for good measure. The hardest part for me and many other riders, aside from the often challenging terrain, will be dealing with hot temperatures in this part of Europe, with anything from 25 degrees Celsius to the extremes of 50 degrees C. Extreme temperatures like these are not to be taken lightly. Always having water and always eating whenever having the opportunity is vital to finishing Badlands alive. What's not to like? Now really, there are so many other events and routes that I would like to do in 2025, but whether or not I have the time to do all or most of these, only time will tell. Here's a few in no particular order. Now it's been a number of years since I've ridden the Transpennine Trail, way back in 2020 in fact, so I'd love to ride that again if I can. Also this year, if possible, I'd love to find the time to revisit the Yorkshire Dales 300 and either finish it from start to end, or at least finish the bit I failed to finish in 2023. This coming May, I may be, yes, pun intended, I may be able to squeeze in the Lincoln Grand Prix, and the other ITP events that has taken my interest later in summer is the giant Lincoln Tugby Challenge, a 200km distance that I'd like to tie in as a fast audax training ride. And finally, there's a new cycling route, the King John's Way, also arriving this year. And although I won't be able to attend the official launch weekend, I will be inviting you to ride the route with me later this year. Or of course you can ride it whenever you want. Further details will follow in the spring. So there you go, that's my plans, hopes and wishes for 2025. But what are yours? Share them down in the comments below and let me know, will you be riding any of these? Have Cycling UK inspired you to ride the March Castle's Way? Again, let me know down in the comment sections below. Right, well that's it for me this video. If you haven't already, do like, comment and subscribe, and I shall see you again soon. Bye bye.